Hi, welcome to Crash Cold World History with your host, Amy. I'm dying. Actually, this is PF Basics, and today what we're going to be talking about is something called PF drills. Now, I don't know what debate is, but I'm going to read this stuff for you guys. First is crossfire drill. What's that? I don't know. If you watch the World and LD videos, this will kind of sound familiar for you. Not for me. But this skill is very important in every format. Which formats? I don't know.
Hello and welcome to PF Basics Part 2. Today we're going to be talking about drills. Let's start with the crossfire drill, or as I like to call it, insult your opponent for as long as possible without sounding mean. Anyways, if you watch the World's debate, this might sound familiar. If not, it's okay. I'm here to explain it all to you. This drill requires at minimum 2 people because there's you and then you need someone else to talk to. And essentially it goes as follows. Just read your speech or whatever you've prepared for the round. If you have a pro case, read your pro case. If you have a con case, read your con case. Read it off for 4 minutes because clearly that's how long your speech needs to be. If you watch the first video, you know that's how long a normal PF speech is. And then just have them ask you questions for like 7 minutes straight. Just have them like ask you questions upon questions. You can't ask any questions back. And it's beneficial to have more than 2 people, the more the merrier, because if you have more people, then more people can ask you questions and there won't just be like long awkward pauses or gaps of silence where they don't know what to ask you and you can't ask them anything. So these are beneficial to help you come up with like responses for questions you might not be prepared for on your case, to help you with things like quick thinking, and also to just in general prepare you and help you figure out what parts of your case you perhaps need to read through another time and understand better. And just so, like, in a round, you won't simply have a situation where you don't know how to respond to a question.
Humor is dead. Okay.
The second drill isn't so much of a drill, but more like good practice. After a tournament or after a debate round, pick the worst speech of that round and redo it. Preferably in front of a coach who knows what they're talking about and not a parent who's just gonna be like, you did well, good job, honey. But essentially, you just wanna redo the speech so you can figure out where you went wrong and fix it, so that way for the next time you give a speech similar to that, you'll know exactly what to say. It's also just beneficial in terms of practicing giving speeches, especially in front of coaches who will give you feedback, and that way you can learn how best to give a certain argument or give a certain response in a timely manner. These are also important to do even if you're doing like practice rounds. You can do one after a practice round or after a big tournament. These are all beneficial for not just PF but any format, but as I'm talking about PF, you should do them after PF rounds. I don't like doing them as much after tournaments just because the speech isn't as fresh on my mind and you won't necessarily remember everything from the speech. But if you can't organize practice rounds with your teammates, then once again, this is a good way to simply just practice doing speeches over. Next up are 2 drills that'll help you with clarity and projection. The first one called the pen drill. Now, if you've done this drill before, you're shuddering internally with me, but here's how it goes. You're gonna wanna give a speech, but the twist is you're gonna have a pen underneath your tongue. That way you have to speak over the pen, as you literally have no other option. This drill forces you to enunciate and pronounce every single syllable so as to be heard over the pen. This will be beneficial in round, for example, if your judge potentially needs to be able to understand everything you're saying, because if you're unclear, then the judge isn't going to know what your arguments are. You, like, can't speak even without a pen in my mouth. The second drill helps you with projection. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to have a room full of people giving speeches, like your teammates, for example, and you're going to have someone walking around and critiquing you. You're going to want to try and speak as loud as possible so you can be heard over your teammates, and that a person who's walking around is going to try and get in your face and distract you. You have to maintain your focus and keep speaking as loud as possible. Now, if your throat is hurting after the drill, that means you're doing it wrong. You need to speak from your stomach, not from your throat. That sounds weird, but essentially you're going to want to project, and the way to do that is speaking from like your stomach and your chest as compared from speaking really loudly from your throat. You know you're going to be speaking from your throat, once again, if your throat hurts afterwards. So these are ways that you know that can be beneficial in terms of learning how to project in a round, that way your judge can once again hear everything you're saying. Finally, our word economy drills. PF speeches are really short, which is why it's important for you to have your words be as concise as possible when giving a speech so as not to waste time. Now, the first drill helps you recognize what words you use as a crutch. What you're gonna do is you're gonna stand up in front of a group of people once again, or even maybe just one person, and you're gonna give a speech. It can be a speech you went for in a debate round, so you can even practice doing a rebuttal redo while doing the speech, or just go give a speech that you would theoretically give on like a pro or con side as a rebuttal. Essentially, as you're giving the speech, the person who's watching you is gonna write down all the words that you repetitively use. For example, words like for example, maybe, to extrapolate. I don't know, those are really random examples, and I doubt you would probably use some of those in a real round. But anyways, you're gonna essentially want that person to, like I say essentially a lot, you're gonna want that person to write down those words a lot so you can figure out what words are your crutch words. Then you're gonna wanna give the speech again. Every time you use one of your crutch words, the person's gonna stop you, either by like shouting, chucking something at you, literally anything to get you to stop. Then you're gonna have to keep redoing the speech and see how far you can get without using that word. This will force you once again to recognize which words you use a lot and eliminate the usage of them. The final drill you can do as an individual, though once again it's always beneficial to have someone watch you to simply give you comments. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to give a speech in, for example, 2 minutes. Then you're going to want to cut that time down to maybe 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then keep cutting it down, giving the exact same amount of material with simply less time. This forces you to cut out extraneous words that you would have used because you have to give the same amount of material in simply less time. Hopefully, these drills will be beneficial to you. But once again, remember, the best way to truly improve is just to simply debate. The real actual application of these drills will truly come out when you're debating, which is why it's beneficial to debate over anything else. So practice debates are always a good thing to do. Thanks for watching. Hello? Hello? Mr. Obama?
Mr. President,
Please.
please help.
I'm drowning.
I'll do anything, Mr. Obama. Like, anything?
Anything?
Yes, anything. Then perish.